Hi, welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, I'm going to introduce you to cloud computing and also Microsoft Azure Cloud. If you are already aware of cloud computing concepts, then I would advise you to skip this lecture. The objective of this lecture is to explain cloud computing concepts for those who don't know about it. So what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is the delivery of computing services such as servers, storage, databases, networking, software, analytics, and many more over the internet. The best way to understand cloud computing is to take an example. When you are starting a company, instead of buying an office or building an office, you always rent an office. Exactly the same principle applies here. If you are building a social media website, instead of buying your own servers, storage, databases, networking, you will rent those things on the cloud and deploy your social networking website on the cloud. Companies offering these computing services are called cloud providers. So these cloud providers such as Microsoft or Amazon will have huge data centers where they will host your application. The only thing you need to keep in mind is when you are using them, you are sharing their infrastructure. So there are many companies like your company will be hosting their services on a shared infrastructure. And whenever you host your application on the cloud, you will be charged based on the usage of that infrastructure. So it depends upon how many servers you are using, how much storage you are consuming, and how many network bandwidth you are consuming, etc. So what are the benefits of cloud computing? Obviously, the first thing is the cost. You don't need to spend any of the capital cost of buying hardware and software. So essentially, you won't buy any servers or databases. Instead of that, you will rent it. So the upfront cost of deploying that application is almost zero for you. And the second key benefit is the speed. Computing resources can be provisioned in minutes, typically within few mouse clicks. You can provision virtual machines and databases and network within a matter of minutes. All you need to do is to go into a portal, register yourself, and then specify the configuration you need and click on it. That's it. You will be provisioned with the compute resource or database resource accordingly. So it all happens within a matter of minutes. And the third biggest advantage is scalability. The computing resources can be scaled up and down within a matter of minutes according to business requirements. This is one of the biggest advantages that are not exploited fully in cloud computing, in my view. For example, if you have a website that is accessed during the daytime, but during the night time, if your website is getting almost zero load, then using cloud computing auto scaling techniques, you will be able to reduce the size of your virtual machines during the night time and scale them back during the morning time. Thereby, you can reduce the cost. This is one of the biggest advantage. If you are buying your own hardware and software, you can't do that. So keep that in mind. And I find many of the customers who is using cloud computing are not really exploiting this capability. They are just migrating their workloads into the cloud, but they should do more in terms of scaling up and down their resources according to the workload. And the fourth biggest advantage is productivity. With cloud computing, you don't need to worry about setup, patching, etc. so that your IT team can focus on achieving business goals. So they don't need to worry about to maintain, to patch regularly and all those stuff. The cloud computing provider will take care of that for you. And final thing is reliability. Cloud computing makes data backup, DR and business continuity less expensive and faster recovery. Because these cloud computing providers works on a massive scale, they build a lot of redundancy within their infrastructure that makes the infrastructure more reliable. It doesn't matter how good you design your data center, when compared to Microsoft and Amazon, you will not be able to meet their standards in my view. So reliability plays a very important role when it comes to cloud computing. The only issue with cloud computing when it comes to reliability is it heavily relies on internet connectivity. That's the only thing you need to keep in mind. Apart from that, in my view, cloud computing is more reliable when compared to on-premise data centers. And there are three types of cloud services. One is infrastructure as a service. With infrastructure as a service, you rent IT infrastructure, which means servers, virtual machines, storage networks, operating systems from a cloud provider on a pay-as-you-go basis. So this is the typical IT infrastructure, such as servers or virtual machines, that you can rent on the cloud and access via internet. Platform as a service refers to cloud computing services that supply an on-demand environment for developing, testing, delivering, and managing software applications. When compared to infrastructure as a service, platform as a service comes with an associated platform maintained by cloud provider. So for example, BizTalk services. BizTalk services is an integration platform. You can have it on the cloud. And the third one is software as a service. Software as a service is a method of delivering software applications over the internet on demand and typically on a subscription basis. These days, software as a service is getting very popular. There are a lot of payroll systems, work management systems offered as software as a service. You won't own even the application also. You just use that application on a pay-as-you-go basis, on a monthly basis basically. With SaaS, cloud providers host and manage software applications and underlying infrastructure and handle any maintenance such as software upgrades and security patching. So the way cloud is evolving, it started with infrastructure as a service. So when you are providing cloud computing consultancy, most of the time you will see people are using infrastructure as a service. And slowly from infrastructure as a service, people will move into platform as a service. And finally from platform as a service into software as a service. I believe that's how the evolution of cloud computing will occur over a period of time. And in terms of deployments, there are three ways you can deploy cloud computing. One is public clouds. The public clouds are owned and operated by a third-party cloud service provider, which delivers computing resources such as servers and storage over the internet. So when it comes to public cloud, the underlying infrastructure is shared by different customers. So cloud provider will have one data center in one location and different customers from that location will deploy their application and pay the cost on a pay-as-you-go basis. When it comes to private cloud, a private cloud refers to cloud computing resources used exclusively by a single business or organization. A private cloud can be physically located on the company's on-site data center, or there are some companies also pay third-party service provider to host their private cloud. So the best example of private cloud is IBM Cloud Burst, where you can have a kit of that in your own data center, but pay to the IBM based on how much you consumed of that private cloud. Private cloud is generally used for government organization like US government or UK or in the defense area. So the private clouds are popular in the public sector. And finally, third one is hybrid cloud. Hybrid clouds combine public and private clouds bound together by technology that allows data and applications to be shared between them. For example, your company already have a data center and you don't want to migrate all the applications from the data center to the cloud. You want to migrate only non-critical applications. At the same time, you want to have a connectivity between the cloud workloads and on-premise workloads. Then you can design a hybrid cloud. Different cloud providers offer that connectivity between their data center with your data center, either using a private connection or over the internet. So you can leverage having both your own data center and cloud also. So particularly if you have a mission critical applications which you want to be in your own data center and non-mission critical ones you want to maintain on cloud from the cost efficiency perspective, then you can do so using hybrid cloud. Finally, Microsoft Azure Cloud. Microsoft Azure Cloud is one of the cloud computing providers in the market. Now these days, the Azure Cloud is becoming central to Microsoft. So they are focusing a lot on Microsoft Azure. They are rapidly expanding the services they are providing on Azure. So let me take you through at a very high level what is Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure is a growing collection of integrated cloud services such as analytics, computing, database, mobile, networking, storage, and web. In the next lecture, I'm going to take you through different layers of Azure architecture and also number of Azure services offered in those respective layers. You can see how vast it is when you go through that lecture. As it stands today, Azure is generally available in 34 regions around the world and also announced plans for 6 additional regions. You need to bear in mind any new region or location added into Azure will not be providing all the products. They will slowly add products over a period of time in the new regions. A region can contain one or more data centers. So for example, UK South might have 1 or 2 data centers to provide that redundancy to you. And Microsoft Azure can provide a bridge between your data center to the cloud. There are 2 Azure services that provide this. One is ExpressRoute, where the bridge will be over a private connection, and second one is VPN, which is basically the network connectivity between your data center to the cloud over internet. So in this lecture, I have provided you a very high-level overview of cloud computing and also a very quick introduction to Microsoft Cloud. In the next lecture, I'm going to take you through different layers of Azure architecture, and also I will quickly take you through different Azure service offerings in those respective layers. See you in the next lecture.